Biggie and Jay-Z were two friends that came up in the same boroughs almost. Well, you know, New York and how it is. They had their own journeys. One became now a businessman, big mogul, and the other is gone. So now it's time to go back into a whole deep dive of everything, including Puffy. And now we get to see how the story began and then as we all know it. But what is up for the future? I'll leave that up to y'all to understand and decide. And as far as Biggie was concerned, he was always going to be the person he was going to be getting money. He was always about the rap game and to the point of using his words to be better than anybody else. Money's girls' clothes is all he knows. Famous saying. And then it led to him actually being one of the best of all time. Before you know it, his only rival was Pac. And when it came down to it, he was the main dude to get where he had to get to do what he had to do. And that was just Biggie. Jay-Z came in around that time and couldn't even get far. As far as we know it, Pac was going to be the dude that he was going to be from the beginning. And as everything changed, he became Biggie's rival. I guess if you want to look at it, we already know the whole story when it comes to that. So, how is it that Biggie was sitting up there at the top of where he was in his space and Pac was at the top in the West Coast? And where did the betrayal come to where Puffy had to jump in and do his thing? And as we know, allegedly, we already know the story behind him and the people from LA. So, what is there else to talk about but what Puffy did to make himself the big man at the cost of Big losing his life, allegedly? Not about Big's life gone, but about that part of Puff. But I gotta say alleged for this, so how else you gonna look at it? I guess it's hard to look at yourself through shades in the mirror, right? So when we look at everything that he did exactly what he was supposed to do. And he was at the right position in the right time to get exactly where he was. The whole thing with Clive Davis and allegedly selling your soul, he was always about himself. Always self and self. And that's just the way it is. I guess it was all about getting the money for him. So he did what he had to do. And now he's a legend. Huh. And to think about all the cases he's involved in, the alleged things he's done, notice I'm saying that with quotations to be funny. Everything he was involved with, including all the crimes that he was considered for and are looked at right now. You mean to tell me this wasn't all in the plan? I guess I'll leave that up to y'all to decide how you look at it. And then when you think about after that, what about Jay-Z's role and how he came up? As far as his accomplishments, everything he did from the early 90s even up until now, Jay-Z did the best, more than a lot of people have with the time he had. And now he's a businessman, straight up. You might as well go ahead and start working with Microsoft, Bill Gates, and really get down and start doing some real serious stuff, if you know what I'm saying. But in the whole point of it all, Jay-Z actually became the person that he wanted to be, a billionaire, based on how he did it. Business came before rap with Jay. And no matter how many awards he has, he has to say it's not worth anything when it comes to what he's done and why he did it. And the reason he did it for. Like anybody else, there's family, friends, and what do you want? And Jay-Z took all three. But at the end of the day, right, it's all business. So I guess business will be business. And Jay-Z's been always about that. So when you look at everything he's done, including what everybody wants to talk about but doesn't want to talk about, and you know what it is, one of the biggest black distribution deals that was ever or could have ever been done. It was agreed upon, but allegedly, Jay-Z didn't want to play. He wanted it all for himself. And maybe that's how Puff's end, as we know it now, allegedly, is coming to light. It was all just a game that everybody had to play. And Jay-Z played it well. Good job, right? But that's HOV, right? Hova? But looking at what happened with one of the biggest black distribution deals in history that could have been, Jay Prince, Suge Knight, Dame Dash, the Gotti brothers, they would have had the whole game sold up, and we would have all had a difference in how things will be going right now. And allegedly, and this is supposed to be alleged, right? Jay-Z sat up there and told on him. His own business partner was going ahead and making the own charge to even do something different. He came into it, Dame Dash said, he wanted to do everything that no one else did without any interruption. But that was his choice, and there can only be one black godfather. And I guess looking at what happened to Diddy, there's not enough room for Jay-Z and someone else. Allegedly, all's fair in business and treachery. And when both of them go together, you only can be one person that can be above anybody else or under somebody above you. And when you look at everything that's happened and how when it relates to Biggie going into the space that he came up into, and in a way the tragedy of what happened to him and how it ended, you can only think of Jay-Z sitting up there on the top of everybody's list as being the man that was up next to the man that who is now. So when you look at it from one perspective to another, who really is the best and who's the worst? And I don't mean that in rapping. I'm talking about in personality and everything else you do. Your soul is one thing and the person is another. I guess when it comes to legends, there can only be one at one time. One time it was Biggie, the other time it was Jay-Z. And at this point it's Jay-Z's time. When we look at the whole series of events between Diddy going down now, Jay-Z rising, Diddy then rising, then becoming, well, at his end, you might as well look at Gene Deal and Cassie and everybody else, including Lil Rod, for what's going to happen to him. So what happens to Jay-Z from here? How many people do you allegedly step over before you feel like it's enough till you solidify whatever power you have and become the man that you always wanted to be, a so-called number one? Let's give a round of applause to the man of the hour. But legends never die, right? They always keep going on until the ends of the earth and the ends of time. As long as anyone talks about them, they'll be who they are. And Biggie made his mark. Regardless of the worse or the better, he's still somebody that's still in our minds to this day. When you think of betrayal, you can only think of just one person. And that's just you, number one. And the only person important to you at that time. Seems like everybody got skeletons in the closet. And when you sit back and look at it, you only gotta ask yourself one question. Are we all just chasing ghosts? Or are we the ghosts ourselves? I guess the only person left to ask is Puff.